So the previous Tycoon update has given us a lot of pain and suffering that we had to deal with. However, in this update it decided to actually fix a lot of problems which we have gotten. So today I'd like to quickly go over some changelogs which were also made. So the first thing which was genuinely really annoying that we had to deal with is just the plane hangar door being really slow when it comes to opening. However, they decided to actually increase its open speed, and now there we go, that is a lot faster. Some vehicles like the Berkut, which were really getting cooked by this, are no longer gonna be suffering as much anymore. Now, 2 operation sections have also been changed when it comes to names. The helicopters have been changed from pilots to helis, and the UAVs have been changed to now unmanned systems, which I think is probably a better name, and it makes the category make a lot more sense. Now, the next change which was made is that they moved all of the UAVs into the planes category, and the UGVs have also been moved into the tanks category. However, what's interesting is that the UGVs do not really have a way to boost their battery with upgrades, which is kinda weird. And now, of course, the most important part of today's video, all vehicle explosion damage reworked to make them more in line with damage numbers before the damage system rework. Let's go ahead and check that out. So firstly, starting off with the planes, which actually have a surprisingly good time to kill still. I can definitely see that their damages are not as good as what they used to be before. However, they can still quite comfortably do really good damage against each other. However, the damage that they do against ground vehicles and tanks now has also been nerfed a little bit. However, it is still actually pretty high, to be honest with you. Like right here, after a full series of shots, I was able to leave the TO-55 at around 4%. So the damage is still really good when it comes to the planes. And now moving into the one and only NERFED. Oh my god. Okay, so the good news is that it's not able to just destroy a tank within all of its 8 rockets. However, it is still able to do some insane damage and is able to leave the tanks at really low health. And its gun still does around 50 damage or so on average per hit. So we're not out of the woods just yet. But now moving into the Mi-24 Hind. Okay, so this thing has been heavily nerfed. Do you guys remember when it was able to destroy any ship within one burst in around 1 to 2 seconds? Well, thank God it's not able to do this anymore, and it's actually going to be taking it a very reasonably long time to actually destroy a USS Zumwalt. The time that a Zumwalt needs to be able to actually fight back. So I'm glad about this change for sure. Okay, so now moving into the Terminator, and this one is a little bit more interesting because its gun is still pretty damn strong. However, it's not strong enough to destroy a vehicle within its full burst of the explosive gun. On average, it's going to be doing 70 damage per shot, and its missiles will not be able to just end a vehicle's life within 1 second either. So you kinda gotta combine them now, kinda like you used to do before, but like come on, the Terminator is still overpowered and it's definitely in need to cost 12 parts like it is right now. Okay, so next up the PGO-2. This thing deserved its nerf. It used to be able to shred the Zumwalt within almost 1 burst, but now it's gonna be taking it around 2 to 3 bursts to kill it properly. And thank God for that. This thing was so broken. So unfortunately, the Overlord itself still remains really overpowered. It's doing around 85 damage per hit with the flak, and if you direct it, it's gonna be doing even more. But like genuinely, I think the Overlord, or really any vehicle with flak right now, is definitely gonna be dominating, dude. Okay, so the TOS Buratino is also left untouched from what I know. It can actually 5-shot a tank with its artillery. That's a little busted, and if you use the guided missiles plus the free fire rockets, you can also basically kill anybody in close range within like 2 seconds. I think the TOS wasn't brought back to how it was, and it's really strong due to this right now. So the laser APC was also really overpowered. However, it was brought back to how it was. That was doing 325 damage per rocket, and its explosive gun also remains to be around 50 damage per hit. So that's really good to hear compared to like the 100 which we used to have with this insane fire rate. But anyways, these are all the really problematic vehicles which we had in this previous update. I'm glad that most of them were fixed. However, some of them still remain pretty damn strong, but if they don't get nerfed, I won't be too mad about it either way. And by the way, there is one more vehicle which I haven't mentioned in today's video, and if you watch my recent stream, you know what that vehicle is. I plan to be making a gameplay video on it because its power is genuinely unreal.